Nice backdrop back there.
Pardon?
So I like that. Yeah, it looks good.
We'll let Coach make some opening remarks. I'll call on you if you have questions. Please raise your hand. Also, if you could identify your name and affiliation. Call. Okay.
All right, so from the last game, the offensive MVP was Jarquez Hunter. Defensive MVP was Derek Hall. Special teams MVP was Oscar Chapman. The O-lineman of the game was Austin Troxel. D-line was Marcus Harris. Our offensive scholar was Court Bradley, and then our defensive scholar was Sammy Cohen. And, Sammy is not playing this year. He is medically retired, but he is helping. All right, so we appreciate that, and he's been doing a great job there. As far as the game this week, Penn State, they're 2-0, very good football team. Played them last year. They beat us. They're scoring 40 points a game. They look good, fast, physical, well-coached, all those things. Their quarterback, Sean Clifford, very good player, and was last year, continues to be. And they got a lot of great players on both sides of the ball, and they play well on special teams. You can see that that's important to them. And they are, I think in the history of this game, they're 2-1 versus Auburn. So, again, we're excited just to get back to work and work on some of the things that we need to get better at from the last game, focus on this opponent, and then get ourselves ready for Saturday. So with that, questions?
Bryan, Auburn 247. When you look back to last week, what do you kind of take aways from your team really on both sides of the ball, some of the things that you talk about post-game after watching the game?
Yeah, I mean, really just it's football sometimes, right? I think the turnovers hurt us. And I thought the one that TJ threw, that kid made a good play on it. They brought pressure. He was getting it out. There was an unblocked guy in his face, and it was just 3 inches inside, and the kid made a heck of a play. The other one was just not a good throw at the end of the day. I mean, so we have to fix that. We've had 4 turnovers, and we've gotten 0. So we've lost the turnover battle in each game, and that's not a good formula that's going to be sustainable. So defensively, we got to be able to create some takeaways somehow, some way. I thought the penalties, and I haven't got the officials' report back on what they thought about all those, but that killed our momentum. Every time, just kind of seemed like it just went around each official that they were going to call a penalty somehow, some way, and it slowed our momentum down. And so we had a ton of penalties, which is uncharacteristic of our football team. But either way, every explosive play we had, I mean, that hurt us. So you chalk it up to just, some of the stuff that we have to do a better job fundamentally, blocking, tackling, some of those things that just happen in the game, and then just being disciplined. I think there were some things in there, in some of those penalties we got to be more disciplined on what happened to us. But the turnovers are what hurts. We pride ourselves in not turning the ball over, and we've done that in the last 2 games. So we got to figure out a way not to do that, and we got to find some ways to get some takeaways. And when the ball's in the air, I mean, we got to compete for it. So those things are what we're going to emphasize again this week. But we're still in that growth phase. We got a lot of work to do. We got a long ways to go with everybody on this football team. We do have some young players in there, probably not getting enough playing time, but they're building into that. So hopefully we can see some more of those young faces out there, and they can help us contribute to what we do against Penn State. But we got to be a whole lot better. The opponent's much better than what we played. We said that. We knew every single week we're going to keep getting better and better, and our football team has to lock into that. And we got to go out there and do the things that we're coached to do at the end of the day. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. We got to coach better, and I said that, and so it's every single one of us that sits in this room. We got to improve.
Bryan, you're doing well today. How would you, now that you had time to look at the film, how would you rate Ashford and TJ's performance, or assess their performances, rather?
Yeah, they were okay. I mean, both of them. We were good enough to win, I think, at the end of the day. I thought TJ bounced back from his interception and was able to do some things and really rally up. I thought he ran the ball well and did some stuff when he needed to, scrambled around and made some plays. So, he bounced back from a turnover, and that's one thing as a quarterback. You got to have a short-term memory in the games, right? I said at the end of the game, too, we kind of hang on to these things more than our players do. But overall, I thought we were solid at the quarterback position.
Bill Cameron with ESPN 106.7. The some of the problems in the pass defense. Is it are you playing a little softer in the secondary because of the lack of a pass rush, or is it just because of the mobile quarterbacks thus far?
Well, I think the QBs have played a factor, and pass rush wise, those guys are getting the ball out. I mean, it's hard to get a pass rush when they throw it on one step, and that's part of it too. Now the trade off is on some of those plays you can break on the ball and have a chance to make a play on some of those quick passes, but no, I just think we just have to keep doing a better job. I think we got to play better in the back end. At the end of the day, I mean, we got good players back there. I think how we practice, how we prepare, I think all the things that we do have got to be improved. Because in the pass game, teams do a good job. There's good quarterbacks out there, and we're going to face another one this week. They do a good job throwing the football. And, when there's a chance, when the ball's in the air, we've got to make some plays on it at the end of the day. And pass rush is a part of that. Underneath coverage is a part of that. So it all plays together. It's not just one guy. Everything plays off each other on defense. But at the end of the day, I think we just had some bonehead penalties that we can be better at, and that comes down to just doing what you're coached to do at the end of the day. So we got to do a better job. We got to listen, and we got to make sure those things happen throughout the week.
What sort of stands out to you thinking back to that Penn State College?
Yeah, well, I think Penn State's a really good football team. I know Coach Franklin, and I've been around him, a few times, and I think he does a tremendous job with his guys. I know he's detailed. I know he coaches well. I know he's got his coaching staff prepared. So, I saw a good football team. I saw a well-coached football team. I saw a good football team that played hard. We played in their environment. We handled that noise. That was a big game. It was the whiteout. I remember that. And they do a great job with their atmosphere. And then you look at ourselves, there's probably some opportunities that we missed. We look at it that way as well. You got to make some plays. But credit to them. They won the game. At the end of the day, you got a chance to win games, for the 4 hours you're out there playing, and they won the game. So they were the better football team. So we got to prepare for that. We got to learn from it. Different coordinator. And, we got to be ready for that, coming to the game on the defensive side, but still know that this is a really good football team that we're going to play, and we got to make sure that we're at our best when we step on the field.
Justin Ferguson, Auburn Observer. Through 2 games, how would you test your offensive line, especially a couple of the new guys that are starting there and take the camera?
Yeah, they're good. I think they're doing a good job. We ran the ball. I think we ran the ball okay at times. So, we're a work in progress, but we're getting better. I think we're not as clean as I'd like us to be, but I still think that we're improving, and I think these guys are working hard at it. And so we're making progress. We got to make a lot of progress this week as we step on the field and get ready to go play against a really good defense.
Bryan, Nathan King, Auburn Tigers. What was Malcolm's situation on Saturday, and what do you expect his stats to be for this week?
I expect him to play. He just wasn't healthy enough to play. And I think he could have. I think we just had better options. But, we need Malcolm on the field. He'll be ready to go. He's a tough kid, and he'll be ready. We just had some other guys that were a little bit better than him at that time.
Bryan, Philip Marshall from Auburn Undercover. With all the new faces on your coaching staff and new responsibilities, is there not a learning curve, that's not the right word, but is there an adjustment period? And if there is, how do you think it's going after 2 games?
Yeah, well, there is. I think when they get here, there's not a long adjustment period. You got to figure it out fast. I think that's the biggest thing. We don't have time to really adjust too much as we get in the season. I think the first game helped us. Second game, no excuses. We're actually dialed. I think how we're operating as far as the coaching staff and the communication has been really good. So from the 10 coaches, I think all that's gone really well. I think some of our analysts and GAs are still learning. You got some young coaches that are still developing, and I think that's our job to help those guys do that. But there's more to it than just the games. It's how you prepare. It's how you run the scout teams. It's how you get everybody ready, and everybody's got a role. That's one of the things. We have a process. We have a role for everybody. And to me, I think the key that I ask everybody is to be fair to that. If you have a responsibility, do it. And if you did it the week before, you need to do it again. Like once something's emphasized, it's always in. And I think they understand that. And I think that's the key to having success as a staff is when everybody knows their role and they can star in it and everybody contributes. And, when you've got people on your staff that understand the game, I mean, at the end of the day, it still comes back to coaching. You got to get your guys prepared. You got to know how to teach. You got to know how to drill. You got to know the details of what you're doing. I mean, you can't be a slap and go out there and coach at a high level. You got to know what you're doing. And I feel like this staff really works hard to have themselves prepared. And, what you hope is you got guys out there that are trying to master what they're doing, and they get a lot of autonomy because of that. And I think we got guys in the staff that know how to do that.
Coach, Brian Wilson, War Report. How much of a benefit is it to you and your staff that Penn State has already played a competitive road game so early in the season that's, compared to just a couple of non-competitive home games?
Yeah, well, every game helps. I mean, you go back, you're going to look at every film. I thought Purdue played well in that game. Purdue's very well coached. They play hard. They were in a competitive environment. That was a big game for Penn State. And a credit to their team, they found a way to win. So you see that, and I think you get a good idea of how their team, how they play, how they fight, all those things. But even last week, playing Ohio, I mean, you still get a lot of good looks, and they're going to look at our team and really say the same thing. Mercer, San Jose State. I mean, as a coach, you're just going to look at, all right, what did the other teams do? What are some of the things that we can do? And then you try to put that plan together and go out there and hope it works on Saturday is really what everybody's trying to get done each week. But like I said before, Penn State is really good. They play hard, know they're going to be well coached, know they're going to come in here and be ready to play. And so it really comes back to us. We got to do those same things.
Ryan, you've seen Keontae Scott, DJ James both playing a lot the first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
How much, especially how much of those guys come on, and how much more do you think those guys are going to contribute moving forward?
Yeah, well, I think Keontae, he's come on quite a bit. And I felt like since the day he got here, now he missed all of summer, but he showed up and he's an impact player. Like the very first day. I think it was day 3 after he'd been here, he's already breaking the defense down, right? I mean, he earned respect in a short amount of time. I think DJ's coming on. I think he's figuring out how to practice, figuring out how to play hard, all those things. He's talented. So I think he's really picking things up and understanding it. So now he's out there. He's able to go out there and play faster. But both those guys are contributors on the defensive side. Keontae helps us on special teams. DJ should be helping us on special teams as well. So you see some of these new guys that have come in now that are starting to get bigger roles and are starting to help us. And DJ is one of those, and Keontae is certainly one of them right now.
Brian Mack,
I don't.
Sports.com.
Okay, there you go.
Am I? Which one?
Yes.
Okay. I wanted to ask you about your receivers, Coach. I don't believe a receiver caught a pass until the final minute of the first half, if I'm not mistaken. I think there were 2 completions over 20.
Yeah, we were mad at him.
Is that where you need more production from?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you got to get the ball to the receivers. It wasn't their fault. We threw it to the other guys. That's part of it. So you got to throw to our guys, and we got to give those guys a chance. We're trying to get them the ball. It wasn't that we're not. Simple as that. And those guys, they got to get open too at the same time. You got to have time to do all that. So, those things are all, if you look at the film, you go back and study, the opportunities are there. We got to make them count. We really do. And I've challenged our offense. I've challenged our team, that we have opportunities to make plays. Like, we got to go make them. We got to go make them. That's really what it comes down to at the end of the day. We can design all these things up and all that, and they look pretty, and they're going to work and all that, but you got to execute them. And that's really what it comes down to. So no different than any other game I've ever coached, and on this football team, like, you got to execute, and you got to find ways to get yourself open. You got to complete passes. You got to protect. Like, all that stuff goes into the pass game. And, we've challenged our guys on that for the last couple of weeks. We'll challenge them again this week to make that happen.
Just philosophically, as a coach, you've played in some big non-conference home series, and I know you're
first year back at Boise, you had that neutral site game against Ole Miss. Just
Yeah.
How do you kind of compare those two atmospheres? Do you prefer playing those big showcase type games in the season, or do you like having these on campus head-to-head games with big opponents?
Yeah, good question. I like them both. I do like those opening games that are at a neutral site. I think those are ones that get built up all through the off season. And that's something when you play in one of those games as well, like your team. I think it impacts your team as far as just motivation, like through fall camp, because you're going to play in a big game that everybody's watching. To me, that's like your first game of the year. Other than that, I'd rather have the games on site, wherever you're playing, home or away, but at your opponent's place or your place. But I do think those games are really good. I think they bring a lot of attention to college football. I think they're good and they're exciting for everybody. They want to watch them, and being in a couple of those, the matchups are usually good too. I think they do a good job putting that on.
Brian, earlier you mentioned how TJ handled himself after his interception. How do you feel Ashford handled himself afterwards? I know he had the long run, but other than that, how do you feel he handled it afterwards and since watching film?
Yeah, same. It's really, like I said, those guys, you don't want to throw interceptions, right? That's not what you're trying to do. Guys are pissed, but then you come off and you got to get right back into what you have to do. That's the one thing about playing that position, and I do really appreciate that about both guys. Like, they can respond. All right, they don't throw their helmet down. They're not pouting. They're not on the sideline. They don't separate themselves from the team. They don't go over there and yell at somebody. They're not pointing fingers. And that was a lot about what our team was like at halftime too. It's different. We didn't have to have a team meeting at halftime. All right, just to come out in the second half. It's pretty matter of fact. Like, this is what we're doing. This is what we're not doing. This is what we have to do in the second half. I think the quarterbacks and Coach Keesaw's done a really good job establishing that mindset. All right, there's a turnover, bang, it's over. Guy made a great play, move on. All right, we'll talk about it after the game. We'll get to the film. We'll critique that. No different for Robbie. Disappointed. Wasn't a great throw. Wasn't in that situation there. And what do? You just respond, right? You come back, you're on the sideline, get some Gatorade, sit down, and figure out, all right, what do I have to do next? Because you're still in the game plan. And I think both guys are really doing a good job of that. That's what I like about where our quarterbacks are at. I think they can handle that. We got to be better, but I think they're handling some of those situations well. And, we want to eliminate that, but you're going to have negative plays that happen. How you respond is going to be the key to our success moving forward in the games.
Got time for one or two more? All right, Coach. Thank you.
Yeah, one more? Yep. Yeah.
You mentioned earlier going up to Penn State, going up there. What's it kind of like for being on the other side of going into a very hostile environment as a coach and in those kind of situations?
Yeah, well, I think you prepare your team for that, and you try to do that. You can't really simulate, some of these environments. They're loud. You can get your speakers. You can do whatever you want. I think most coaches do that. But, everybody has a different way of preparing their guys, all right, to go into a different environment. And then the travel and all the other stuff that comes with it, that's all part of it. And, your schedule changes a little bit. You got to adapt that way. And then, you're going to be somewhere else playing on the road. And it's just, that's what every coach has got their own formula of how to prepare for that.
All right, Coach.
Good. All right. Thank you, guys. Have a great afternoon.